And we're going to start. We are now live. Let me reset the script writer for Matthew. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Lesson 4 of QSM572. I'm Professor Luke Ott, and for the timestamp, it is the 31st of January, 2018. Our agenda for tonight is what you see in front of you. Got some old business. Lesson 4 and 5. 5 is very short, and it has some things that are pertinent to your final presentation, and I just want to give it to you before you present, not afterwards. Hang on a second and see if I can get the script writer up and running again. Check 1, check 2. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Let's just continue on here. Wanted to talk a little bit about the discussion questions. One of the posts and the question regarding the biggest challenge with the recommendations was that they found it hard to come up with the appropriate level of specificity when they were drafting the recommendations. It's a very common challenge. You see it all the time, but it's very important that you all recognize that, because you need to have the appropriate level of specificity in your recommendations. If you don't have precise description and guidance for your recommendations, then it's too difficult to estimate certain key corresponding elements of each recommendation. And I've got some of them listed here. Cost, materials, software installation, the total time to implement, training that's required, personnel, the right performance metrics. And then the last one is a bit of an intangible, but it's also very important. And that's, as you make recommendations to your leadership, you're going to be asked, what's your confidence level of being able to successfully complete those recommendations, and how complex are they? A risk analysis, if you will. Okay, that's the kind of thing you want to be thinking about when you provide the recommendations. Okay, looking at the chat box, does anybody want to take the mic and any comments with reference to recommendations and appropriate specificity? Never been much of a talkative group. All right. Second question, it talked about the difficulty of executing the plan or your recommendations because the team has limited authority. Here again, I thought it was a very good post. I think it was Cameron that put this one up, and I believe Matthew posted the first one we talked about. But regardless of the author, they were both very good posts. To Cameron's comment about team having limited authority, thus a little challenging to get things done, that's also very common. However, what I would suggest is, if the project team is doing their job, the facts should speak for themselves. Okay, so that should make it a little bit easier getting buy-in from people. However, every project that you're involved in, regardless of its size or its scope, you have to have the leadership support. If you don't have active leadership support, get out of the project. Don't volunteer for it. Find a way to get your name off the list, because it's just, you're spitting in the wind. All right. It's too hard. It's just not worth your time, because there'll be a point where other people involved have to make a decision whether to support you or not. And unless you have the authority to require them to cooperate with you, they're just going to say, hey, I'm busy. Okay? And it's too frustrating a situation to be in. Part of your due diligence when you tee up a project is make sure that you have leadership support. And then finally, General Walsh's comments. Everyone seemed to post comments regarding him that I was hoping you'd get from his speech. His video is one of my favorite videos. Things such as attention to detail, okay, unquestioned integrity, taking care of your people, putting that in a DMAIC context, okay. The second bullet here, I'll just put my cursor on it. You can read it. But all these things come under the category of taking care of your people when you're working a project. Okay? And as team lead, these issues will be your responsibility. Okay. Let me get rid of some of the stuff on here, and I'll look at the chat box while I'm doing this. Does anybody have anything they want to add with regards to the discussion questions? All right, moving on here. I wanted to take about 30 seconds, and I wanted to make sure everybody understands from a big picture standpoint what exactly it is we're trying to do with the DMAIC project. Okay, I just jotted some notes down here on just about 1.5 slides. The problem statement is going to define your problem. More explanation, that's on there. Customer requirements matrix, okay, is going to identify subsets of your problem statement. Okay. Your root cause analysis and your cost of poor quality, they're going to identify the sources of the problem and the specific negative consequences of that problem. Okay. When you're done with your analysis, you're going to do recommendations, implementation strategy, and identify the cost of implementation. Okay, all those things come in there. Going to the next slide. Okay, then you're going to determine return on investment, and we're going to talk about this in detail tonight. An ROI, okay, it's expressed in a ratio, it's expressed in dollars, and it's also expressed in performance metrics, whatever is applicable to your project. And then finally, we're going to talk about payback time, and that's just simply the time it takes to recover the cost or investment of implementing your recommendations for your solution. All of these complement one another, and without each of them, your project is going to lack continuity and it's going to lack effectiveness. Does anybody have any questions? Just, top-down view conceptually how all these things fit together and why each one is important for your project.
How you doing, Professor? It's Jay. As far as the ROI, like in the military, because we're not
Going to lesson 4 objectives. I'll let you read those, and then we'll continue on. We're going to talk about performance metrics, various review processes and reports that are used for decision making. Much of this should be review for you. We felt it was worth reviewing, and as such, I'm not going to spend an inordinate amount of time on it. We'll be going through this fairly quickly. Okay, analysis reports lead to decision making. Every report you get, every analysis you get should be facilitating some decision. If it's not facilitating a decision, then it's useless. So, hang on just a second, please. Matthew, I'm going to turn this off for a second so I can recognize Jay.
Yeah, I guess my concern is for the ROI. Being in the military, we're nonprofit. Or how do we do a return on investment? Because ours is mostly based on, I guess, just time.
Well, it's a great point. We did talk about this briefly before, but in the military, in a government organization, in a nonprofit organization, you don't have obviously a profit and loss consideration. Okay, but you do have uh, performance metrics such as readiness, mission effectiveness, effectiveness of training, budgetary constraints, okay, manpower, things like that. Okay, you use the same tools, but the metrics, instead of talking about dollars made or dollars lost, they talk about mission capability, mission effectiveness, readiness of the aircraft. In your example, we're talking about the aircraft mission capability. Okay. Also, things like how many missions a unit is able to successfully execute. You can't keep adding missions. I mean, at some point, you reach a saturation given the resources that you have available. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else want to contribute to this discussion?
I mean, sir, I was on the same page as Jahi because throughout this whole course since we started last March, that was one of the key things we keep asking each professor. How do you quantify in dollar amount? But as you stated, if the key things that we need to concentrate on is mission readiness and aircraft readiness, as our problem set is aiming to. So thank you for your input, sir.
Sure, no, you're very welcome. And in your situation, in your project I'm referencing now, you've got $960 million aircraft, and the cost of maintaining them, the cost of training the aircrew, the cost of worldwide operations to execute your mission. There are significant monetary components attached to it, but because you're military, there's more than just the monetary amount. One measure could be, okay, the government or the Air Force has invested 9 aircraft, $170 million a copy, plus whatever the cost of operations is, and that can be calculated in man hours. You can do a conversion, how much you're paying each individual on average, times how many in that pay grade, and then I know the military is 24/7, but I can't with a straight face say, well, you're working 24 hours a day. So let's say 10-hour days, and that's probably on the low side, maybe 12-hour days. Taking those resources, and like I said, you can convert them into dollars, or you can use whatever conversion you want, and then look at the mission set that you're doing. Is that the best use of those resources? And then you get into efficiency of execution. So, although at first blush or first impression, there might not be a monetary component, if as you think through, there really is. Is that fair enough, folks?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I make a note to Matthew. And by the way, very good question, Jay. Check two. Okay, here we go. Continuing on now with report example. Yeah, it looks like a report to me. I'm a real big less is more type. I get into the minutia in extreme detail when it is justified. When it's not justified, less is more. I really Can't emphasize that enough. Okay. Dashboards. Is anyone not familiar with dashboards? I'll work on my syntax, Matthew. Thank you. Okay, just a couple examples, and you can get real detailed. You can just geek out like crazy on dashboards. Here again, depending on what you're using them for and all that, if it's an instrument panel, like on a jet or something like that, that can be a little overdone. Functionality. Hang on, folks. This seems to be check one. Okay, thanks, Joe, very much. With reference to functionality, performance summaries, various metrics, you got dynamic dashboards, and then visualization dashboards. Here's an example of each, which I'm going to go over very quickly because I assume that you're familiar with them. If you are not, please say something. Excuse me a second. If you're not and you want to talk about this after class, I'd be more than happy to talk about, folks. Under the example of less is more, what I've done here is just made a very simple dashboard with Excel. If we had 6 projects that we wanted to track and we wanted to add a color code to it, just so we could look at it on a glance and just see how things are tracking. Just as simple as that. Don't make things any more complicated than what you need to. Okay. Weighted or composite indicators. There are whole classes, even whole majors, that are devoted to statistical analysis and math. Everyone knows what an average is, and a moving average. Exponential moving averages that puts a little more emphasis on the most recent value in whatever time frame you're looking at. And then there are weighted moving averages. The list goes on and on. Do I have a preference? No. The only preference that I would use, what is the current precedence? Are they working? If you can also dive a little deeper and be able to explain why they're working, that always helps me understand I don't want to say the value or the quality of the metrics I'm using. Okay, and of course today most of these are software driven. Composite scalable to various needs. We already talked about that. Performance indicators, charts, and tools. That's the DMAIC process. Okay. I'm a big fan of Murphy. And here we are. Everyone should be familiar with the term opportunity costs. If anyone's not, send me a text or email. We'll go through that. Okay. Stratified measures depending on who's using them and the target audience. Give me a second here to clean the chat box that I have with Matthew. Check, check. Check. Okay. As the slide says, should be distinct at various management levels. I'm going to edit that by saying they should be tailored to the various level and the needs of the personnel using them. There we go. Key aspect, frequency, end users, specific analysis. How many measures do you use? No more than what you need to get the job done. That's my answer. That's my guidance. You all make your own decisions as you go forward and you use it. Okay, if anyone ever used a run chart where you have an upper limit and a lower limit, this concept should be fairly familiar to you. And obviously, we want to utilize all these things to facilitate meeting our goals or targets. That's a bit of a, yeah, no kidding, sir, but it's on the slide, so I have to recognize it. Okay. Techniques to set targets. Got 5 listed. I'll let you read them. If you have any questions, let me know. Continuing on, using predictive analysis to set targets. Here's a little increasing in sophistication level from descriptive all the way up to predictive and then prescriptive. And of course, that's very conceptual. Okay. MVP expectations. Obviously, we want you all to be proactive. I've been hoping to instill that. I'll let you all be the judge. Okay. Got a chart here that you're all familiar with. We're going to pick this up. Okay, here's your Ishikawa or fishbone diagram. Okay, talk about alignment among measurement systems. Fairly straightforward concept, very hard to do in practice, requires leadership, requires communication, requires coordination, all those things. Most organizations have some component of it, and depending on how well served you are by these reports, probably determines how you feel about it. Okay. Maturity model, from a completely uncoordinated, non-collaborative approach all the way up through systematic, effective performance management, and then a performance culture. The performance culture, if you've been in an organization that has that, is a pretty nice circumstance to be in. Jay, was that a private message, sir? Or is that did everybody see that? Do we need to change our slides? You mean for the team slides, Jay?
Yeah, because they've got NGS on them. I didn't know if we needed to swap that over or if...
Yeah, type in the chat box, Jay.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'll just say, with the merger, do we need to change our slides? Maybe for your next class with Ernie. For me, no. I don't want to give you all busy work, okay? And if anybody gives you a hard time, it's my call, okay? Just leave your slides the way they are for me. Okay, this is quickly a review, so I'm not going to spend any time on it because I know you all were listening to me. Okay. More observations. No, we're good on that. Okay, now we're going to go to lesson 5. Matthew, I'm going to go off a second so that we can go back and forth quickly on something. I'll be back. Jay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good question on that. I couldn't tell, was that a private message or was that to everybody?
It was for everybody, but I just sent it to you.
Okay. But just to recap, Jay asked, good question. With the merger with New England College of Business, do we need to change our slides? Short answer is not for me. Okay, I'm trying real hard not to create busy work for you folks. Okay, so for my class, just leave them the way they are. For Ernie's class, how many more classes you got after this? One or two more after me?
Two.
Two. For the two after this class, let the individual prof tell you. But for me, the short answer is no, you don't have to. And thank you for asking.
Okay, roger that.
I mean, just what you folks would really love to do is reformat a whole slide deck, right? You would get so much out of that we, since someone recording, I better be quiet. Okay, back on the automated dictation machine here. Check one, check two. Okay, folks, this is lesson 5. It's real short, but it does have some good stuff in it. I wanted you to see this before we went over your final presentations next time. Okay, so keys to success, I'll let you read it. Hopefully none of this blindsides anybody, okay? But be prepared, okay? Make sure your math is correct, okay? And, give a once over to your slides for spelling, grammar, things like that. Okay. Now, a couple things. It is PowerPoint, and a lot of people don't like PowerPoint. I would suggest the folks who don't like it don't really use it in an effective manner. Number one, be brief with PowerPoint. So just be bullet points unless something is so important that you want to show a direct quote or something that needs spelled out. But that should be the exception, not the rule. Okay. You don't read the slide to your audience. You speak to the slide. And the slides really should be an outline and a detailed outline at times, but for the most part, an outline. If anyone is not familiar with a hyperlinks, okay, how you can do hyperlinks in the PowerPoint slide deck. For instance, if you're talking about a cost of poor quality, okay, and the cost of poor quality in a very complex process, you've summarized and you've made a concise 2 or 3 bullet points about the cost of poor quality for a particular manufacturing line. You very well may anticipate a question about a very small detail of that line. In your cost of poor quality slide, you can put a hyperlink to one of your backup slides. And then when you get that question, you hyperlink to the backup slide, answer the question. The backup slide displays all your supportive information, math and calculations and analysis that you need. When you're done answering the question, there's a hyperlink on that backup slide to go back to where you were. And it's not nearly as hard as you think. There are going to be certain key questions you're going to get asked. If you anticipate those questions and then utilize that hyperlink, you're going to have to keep yourself from smiling when you see the audience just go, damn, these folks know what they're doing and they're prepared. And that just makes you feel good when every once in a while, when you just crack the ball right over center field fence and you just stand there and watch it make that pretty little arc into the seats. Okay. All right. What else here? Team presentation. Yeah, you guys know that. Okay. The presentation required for our class. Okay. No way on God's green earth am I going to make everybody read every slide. Okay. It'd put you to sleep. It'd put me to sleep. All right. We're going to go through the slide deck. There is, the presentation guidance that's in supplemental materials. We're going to go through that, some very quickly. The title slide, who's on your guiding coalition. I'm going to spend about 10 seconds on that. and we're going to go through the slide deck. I'm going to make sure that you've done everything. We're going to make sure you've done everything in order. I will have some questions, okay? But that's how we're going to go through everybody's final presentation. Question, comments, or anything on that? Final thought on root causes, yeah, root causes are important. Your slides. The first point, yeah, of course but you should be familiar with the slides and the concepts and everything else that you can talk to it comfortably. And you know, I use the notes down here in the bottom, but it's a fairly effective technique to have some talking points ready for each slide. Okay, and again, you're not going to have to do that for me. This is for your final presentation. Okay, that concludes lesson 4 and lesson 5. Questions, comments, lesson 4, lesson 5. All right. I intentionally left off at a certain spot so we could get back. Hang on a second, folks. Sorry about this. I try to do it as quickly as I can. Check, check. Okay. One of your assignments for next week, and then rolling right into your team presentation, will be to calculate your return on investment. Okay. Return on investment is really 3 things. Okay. One, it's a ratio. Okay. And it's simply dividing your improvement over what you have invested. Now, what I like to do is give a very simple, straightforward example that you can commit to memory. If I invested $1,000 and from that investment I received $10,000, my return on investment ratio would be 10 to 1. Simple as that. Okay. Also, the time frame of the ROI is important. For our purposes, I want an ROI calculation for a 5-year period. Okay, so I want to know the return on investment for each individual year, 1 through 5, and then the total or summary ROI for that 5-year period. Hi, Edgar. I got you now, sir. Thank you very much. Let me make a quick note and take Edgar off the dirtball list. Check, check. Now, specifically for each team, for teams UTC and variation, please report your ROI as a ratio. The 5-year calculation, okay, should include the actual financial gains and any productivity gains along with it. First pass yield, I believe, is important. And how much was your first pass yield improved? That kind of thing. For Team Prime, Prime Aircraft. Okay, we want to report the ROI as your percentage gain, your current first pass yield. Your current mission capability rate is X, and you increased it to whatever. Okay, we want the actual increase and then the increase in percentage. And we will talk about this for each team in more detail as we go forward tonight. Okay. Once again, ROI for individual teams. Okay. Prime Aircraft, improvement of mission capability, everything. I don't have to read this to you. It's right there. If you have any questions regarding this, please let me know. Okay. Payback time. It's the length of time required to recoup the initial costs of the improvements. It's your denominator in your ROI ratio. Okay. Now, any time that's required to train, install new equipment, retool a production line, the time required to implement, if you do a pilot test, that type of thing, beta test, if you do any of that, you're not going to start realizing your improvements from day one. So that has to be factored into the time metric, usually in the first year, of your ROI calculation. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but at least conceptually, is there anybody that doesn't understand what I'm saying here? Okay. When we get done with the discussion and with reviewing of your assignments, if anyone is not sure what I'm talking about and what I mean and what's required of you, please let me know, because next class, that's trigger pulling time, and you're going to be graded on that final project. Let me get rid of this again. Check. Okay. Okay, enough about that. Now, I pulled a couple slides from a previous project just to give you an example. Okay. This was their implementation cost slide. Okay. Throw that up there. Here was their payback time. Okay. So the benefit from their recommendations was approximately, and these numbers were masked, but it was approximately $500,000 a year. $500,000 a year divided by 52 weeks is $9,600 and change savings per week. Okay, their initial cost of implementation, and this was for the entire 5 years, was $51,000 and change. So when they put that up here, their payback time was 5.3 weeks once everything was in place to start realizing the benefits. Everybody with me so far? One potato, two potato. Everyone's with me. All right, now let's go to the next slide. Now this is payback time. Okay, so they get their investment back in 5.5 weeks from the time they start full implementation of their solution set. The return on investment, see 5 years, here's your total, okay? The gains were $500,000 a year, and that was an estimate, for a total of $2.5 million. The expense was $19,000 and change on year one, and then $7,800 for years 2 through 5, which is very common. Oftentimes, there's more expense in year one for the startup expenses, start of the new program. Okay, that needs to be taken into account if it is applicable to your project. And then you have the net benefit down here. Here's the total for 5 years. ROI formula, actual ROI, and then a couple of notes down here. The total net benefit, just under 2.5 million. Total cost is here, which is a summary of that line. And then hang on. And then they were good enough to add cost of year one is higher than years 2 through 5 because whatever the specifics of their project, they had more cost on initial implementation of their recommendations in year one. Take a second, look through it. Does everybody understand what we need, what's required of your team for return on investment? Now, several of these slides, I explained things in a little more detail, and then I added these 3 slides. They're not in the slide deck on your portal. Does anybody want me to post this lesson 4 with notes? Is how I have it labeled. Does anybody want me to post that so you have this for reference?
I would.
Okay, Danielle
Same
says
here.
yes. I only need one person that would like it, so you got it. Okay. This is pretty important stuff, folks. It really is. So when you go back and review it, if you don't understand something, and then you talk to your teammates and they're having the same issues you are, please reach out to me. Okay, don't waste your time because I haven't given you proper guidance or you don't understand what it is you need to do. Reach out to me before you do that. Okay, I will. Let's see, flying tomorrow, back tomorrow night. Flying Friday night, Saturday, back Saturday night, back on Super Bowl Sunday. So I should be able to give you a 24-hour turnaround at the latest. If you want to email something to me or text me, worst comes to worst, just call me. Okay, if I'm not available, I won't answer, but if I am available, I'd be more than happy to talk with you. Okay. Let's see. Okay, your team assignment 4.1 is to calculate your ROI and payback time for your MVP project. Okay, present them on separate slides, please, separate slides. Okay, do 48 hours prior. Okay, it's already posted on the portal, same as this. It should be identical. 5.1 team presentation. If you've noticed, and hopefully you have, every assignment that I've given you fits right into that team presentation. There's an intentional sequence to the assignments. Plus the fact you couldn't do one without getting the other ones done first. Okay. But team presentation, this is due to me noon on Tuesday. I want to look at them. I want to review them, before we go over them during class. Noon the day before is I try to give you as much time as I can, especially for something like this. Okay, so I need to have them by noon, please, the previous day, so I can review them. Hang on a second, folks. This thing has very limited RAM memory. Check. Okay. Okay, reminder about individual assignment. Individual assignment 3.1 Bravo. The second half of the individual assignments are due by next class. Okay. I'm real pleased with what I've seen so far on there. Keep up the good work. Don't get behind on this. Don't let this bite you. Don't let this compromise a really good grade that you're all on track for. Okay. And like I said, there's 2 DQs on there. Okay. And I think, yeah, that's the end of lesson 4. I want to review every team's assignments, your assignments from lesson 3. I want to provide everybody with feedback. Matthew, I'm going to turn this off in a minute so that I can talk quickly with some of the folks, and then your team will be going last on the team assignment review. And of course, I will turn it back on at that time. Do you have any questions for me at this point, Matthew? Do you have any questions for me at this point, Matthew? Okay, folks, somebody give me a sound check, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Judith. Okay, everybody, any questions about anything? Does everybody know what you're responsible for and the timeline for your assignments going forward? Anybody got any questions with regards to that? Okay, all right, folks, we're going to press team variation is up first. For team variation, I'm sorry. Okay, for your assignment, 3.1, can you guys see this on your screen okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can see.
I thought this was real good, folks. Okay. You've got the, and now this first one, the second bullet, first component, that's more or less a pilot project or beta test. True statement?
True statement, and also because you know, we haven't found anything, any other metal company that actually put this into practice. So we would have to fine tune and optimize, obviously, in a pilot scale before we would dedicate resources to a full scale of the project, really.
Okay. Well, I mean, you guys decide. You know, your project. I'll support your decision. I like what I've seen on it. Do need to pull a trigger no later than next week, though. Okay. Now, next bullet on here, the customer qualification testing. $500,000 for qualification, but then I don't see any amplifying data. Make me smart about that. What exactly are we talking about, folks?
So, Professor, actually, my sound went in and out. Could you repeat that one more time?
Sure. The third bullet, the perform customer qualification testing. And if I'm reading this correctly, that's $500,000. But I don't see any explanation on what exactly is that and why are you doing that? How does that fit into your strategy?
Hey, Dave, are you online by any chance? I know he was driving before. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was bouncing out. Sorry, I'm on there. Yeah, so all aircraft parts have to go through qualification run by the prime certificate holder. So whoever the OEM is for it has to put it through qualification. That's what that is. It takes about 6 months and it runs about $500,000.
And that is required to implement your solution.
Yeah, it's required by the FAA.
Okay, love the FAA. Okay, all right. If come up with just one or two bullets, you know, FAA required, something in there, just to give it a little more amplification than what's there. But with reference to the overall implementation strategy assignment, I thought you all did real well.
All right, thank you. We'll add that in there.
Okay. Rolling now to assignment 3.2 for the same team. Okay, I like what I see here. Pilot cost for pilot project. Unless you change it, I'm assuming we're going to go with it. If you change it, then it's fair game for me to sharpshoot. But what we have here works for me if you want to stay with it. Somebody give me a grunt or something so I know you heard me.
Yeah,
Roger,
I heard you.
Okay, fair enough. And then,
we got it.
okay, now for full scale implementation, and that's going to cost this much. Okay. But now I have a question. All right. I don't see the customer quality testing. Shouldn't that be included in the implementation cost?
That was an oversight. That'll definitely be updated for the ROI.
Okay. Yeah, just please add that in there so you don't get blindsided or sharpshooted. Sharpshooted. You don't get hit with that on your final presentation. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I did see that you started to work ahead a little bit. Very much to your credit. I love initiative. Let me throw something out you probably already know, but just in case, all right. Return on investment. This isn't an ROI chart. This is a payback chart, and obviously they're two separate things. And be careful of down here the months I like a lot, but throw the year on there too, and just if I said be careful when you start taking credit for the benefits until you've got time to implement everything, because you want to do a pilot project first, and you're not going to get all the benefits during the pilot project. There's a rolling in period or implementation period. Do you all know what I mean by that?
Yes, sir. We actually have another version of both of these slides that include that pilot program, but we weren't sure if you wanted us to include that in our calculation. So I've actually got another one that states that the payback period is actually 15 months instead of 13. And then the ROI, I believe, is around 87 to 88% rather than the 93%.
Is this team comfortable going forward with your ROI and payback slide based on everything we said today?
Yes, sir.
Anybody have any questions for me about anything from this team?
No, sir.
Okay. From the guiding coalition in the audience, any comments or feedback or suggestions for this team?
None, sir. Good job, team.
Okay, that works for me. Team variation. You're in a good spot. You've been working hard. It shows. Please don't lose focus because you're doing real well the way you are. All right, but just finish strong for me, please. Okay.
You got it, sir.
All right, you guys are good. You're more than welcome to stick around, but you don't have to. But good job on everything. Just please don't lose focus. Don't relax on me in the last inning. Finish strong, please. Next up will be Team UTC. That's Cameron and Edgar. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, super.
Yes, sir.
I got some notes here. Okay. Implementation strategy. I thought you did real well on this. It's for me, and I only know about your project, what you guys have shared with me, but it seems like just the right amount of specificity. Okay. So you talked about the CN form, the packing errors, and the chip paint. You got that all in there. Unless you guys got any questions about the implementation strategy, I'm good with what I saw. Once, twice, you guys good?
I'm good, sir.
Okay, it ain't broken. It don't need fixing.
Yes, sir. No questions at this
Okay, hang on. You're
time.
not off the hook yet. Hang on, hang on, hang on. You didn't think you got out of here that easy. Okay. Implementation costs. I like the breakdown. It makes sense to me. I can follow it. These costs over here, are they annual costs?
No, sir. Those are more cost for just that type, kind of like a Kaizen for each one of those instances.
Okay, so if you remember the example that I put up of ROI, you're going to have to come up with your annual cost for each year, 5 years running, and the year one may be different than years 2 through 5. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I mean, do you understand
Yes,
what I'm saying? I don't want to waste your time, but I want to make sure you understand what's required of you.
Yeah, and these are definitely numbers that we, you know, after we do a trial run, we'll see if things need to be tweaked or worked, and then we can add that in.
Okay, trial run of what?
Well, for the CN form, we'll start with that. to do the changes, if we do the changes and it gets implemented out on the floor, and a month or two goes by and we realize that changes need to be updated, then that will be factored into the ROI.
Yeah, but
right?
you got to give a presentation next week, okay? And you got to come up with your estimated annual costs.
Okay.
Okay, so is this the cost? You're estimating this cost for the first year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, as you actually put it on the line, yes, you're going to tweak it. But for our purposes, okay, so get a total, and then I need the cost per year for those 5 years. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so that's good. But we still got more. Hang on there we go. What's your current first pass yield?
I hold on, I'll pull it up real quick.
Well, you know what, Cameron?
Yeah.
Don't pull it up, okay? You need to put it on the slide.
I know. I have the updated version. I just haven't uploaded it.
Upload it, I mean, send it to me?
Well, yeah, or into the tracker too.
Well, okay, forget about the tracker, all right? I've asked for this. This is the 4th time we've had this conversation. Okay, it's got to be in there, and it's required for the final presentation. Okay? And how many times have we talked about this?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay, and then I appreciate the apology, but what I'm trying to say is I can't pass any team that doesn't have the right metrics in the right slides. And we've talked about this more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times. Don't put yourself in a position where, because this isn't in the final presentation, I got to give you a grade that you've worked so hard that you're not, it's just going to be difficult. And I don't want to do that. But I don't know what it is because it's not my project. Please put it in there as quickly as possible, or you guys are going to shoot yourselves in the foot. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Same conversation about cost of poor quality.
Yes, sir.
Okay? For every cost driver, what is that costing you? Okay? And that in your cost of poor quality slide, I have to have more than just the definition. This is hurting us, and this is hurting us, and this is bad too. you got to break it down for me as that's costing you per year. That's also a requirement of the presentation. So please get that data in there, because I know you have it. Take the 2 minutes, pull the trigger, and get into your slide deck. Please, okay?
Will do.
Okay. Other than that, you guys are looking good. You do that, and you're where you need to be. Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for me about anything prior to the last class?
I might get in touch later on because I gotta look back at the slides that I didn't, unfortunately, lost connection for. There were a couple of things in some of the last slides, but I just want to make sure I have the proper questions for you.
Yeah, well, let's see. My notes, the root cause slide, okay, the cost of poor quality, and the first pass yield. Okay, the root cause slide, we need to be specific. We have to identify the root cause, but I think we already did that. You just didn't update the slide. Cost of poor quality, you needed the financial calculations, and then we needed to know. I mean, we can't know how well we're doing. The production cell hasn't met the FPY. Well, what is the current FPY of the production cell? Okay, and feel free to call me. Feel free to email anytime you want. If you want to send me those slides, I can review those slides and get them back to you. And okay, these are good. That's all you need to do. And it's not a lot of work. Work smarter, not harder. Okay, and just plug in those key components, and you guys are good. But those components are required for successful completion of the course. Okay, so like I said, please don't shoot yourself in the foot on this. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Guiding Coalition. Comments, guidance, questions, suggestions for Team UTC?
I'm sorry, taking notes.
All right. Well, put your pen down and help these guys out if you have anything that you want to share with them. Okay, you guys are done. More than welcome to stick around. If you want to pull chalks, no problem. Okay. Team Prime Aircraft. Let me pull your, there we go. Okay, and let me tee up.
Sorry about that. That's our last connection, but I think the last one was cost drivers, right?
Hang on a second. The root cause slide, cost of poor quality slide, and the actual first pass yield on your production cell.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay? Yeah, please. I mean, you're so close to having just a kick butt project, but those things are they're required. You got to have those. Without those, you'll get eaten alive. Okay, I mean, just, what's your project on? Project on first pass yield production cell. What's the current first pass yield production cell? We haven't figured that out yet. How long have you been doing this? Don't go into that landmine. Don't go into that landmine. Okay, I'm going to turn on the dictation machine.
Okay.
For Matthew. You guys take care. If you have any questions after the fact that you think of something that we haven't been talking about, just reach out to me. Okay, guys?
Will do.
Okay. Also, you're in a good spot. Finish strong. That attention to detail. Okay, take care of these little outliers. Okay, and then you got a really strong project. You guys take care. Okay, Matthew. Your team is up, Matthew. Can you see me? Your team, yeah. Are you ready, Matthew? Give him a second to see the comments here, and then we'll continue on. When he comes in, I'll repeat it. But in general, on your implementation plan, I thought it was real good. I thought it was a little bit wordy,
Yeah.
and we talked about that, tonight already. So I don't want to beat that up a second time if we don't have to. Waiting for Matthew. Tell you what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to type in the chat box. I'm going to click the dictation off. And I'm just ask Matthew to check in with me. Okay, there he is. I'm sorry. All right. Well, I got it off for now. Does anybody, any comments, Jay, Judith, anybody, as far as if I said it just seemed a little bit wordy?
Yes, so we have a plan we did send a set of slides that didn't meet your requirements, but we were trying to be less wordy with them. The one that had manpower, personnel training, and so on and so forth. But we have a plan. We will implement. We'll cut it down. We will cut it down. We have a plan.
Okay. And for example, we'll just look at the first bullet. Okay. Objective is to educate the maintenance unit about the new supply depot's 24-hour, 3-shift schedule and how to improve coordination of the activities with the supply depot. Okay. If I were just to take that and put it, my wording in a bullet point, educate the MX unit about the supply depot's 24/3 schedule and improve coordination. Okay. They're bullet points and they're not paragraphs. Okay, you know this stuff. It's obvious from the words you put on here. I can tell that you guys know it. The way it's being presented, I think, is a bit wordy. So just work on that.
Definitely, sir.
Okay, just work on that for me, please. Okay.
Will do.
Yes, sir.
Let me get Matthew here. Boy. Folks, hang on a second. I'm very sorry. Seeger, 9. Be good. 9. Lots. Okay, sorry, folks. I'm sorry about that. Hi, Matthew. Sorry that took so long. The comment that I was making to your team was that I like the information on your implementation plan, but the description seems a bit wordy. So please work on that for me, okay? The details don't have to be in the notes. Just be more concise on how you explain the plan.
Yes, sir.
Plan. And work with your team on it. Okay, super. Okay, so that's good. On 3.2, hang on for here we go. Check. Okay, the assignment for 3.2 was to determine the estimated cost of your implementation strategy. When I look at what was handed in for Team Prime 3.2, I see the benefits of the implementation strategy, but I don't see any costing of the implementation strategy. And when I say costing, okay, that would be things like how much training needs to be done, how many hours of training, who's going to teach it, who's going to develop the curriculum and approve the curriculum, how long is that going to take, okay? How long will it take to complete the training? And will this training have a negative impact on operations? And of course it won't, but how are you going to ensure that it doesn't have a negative impact? Just so you can show your leadership that you've anticipated that type of thing. Okay, so, you know, with this project, the cost is not going to be in dollar amount, but it will be in man hours required to complete the training. And then also if the current operations will be compromised in any way as the training is being conducted. Current operations be compromised. And for the team, if you'll please use the chat box, and then we'll go off dictation in a few minutes. But does everybody understand what I need on this? Okay. Matthew, do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, super, Matthew. Give me a second because I want to go off the dictation for a minute to talk with your team to give them a chance to ask me any questions. Okay, I'm off, I think. Yeah, you guys understand what I need on here? We need to tell in man hours, okay, what's it going to take to get the training, to get your recommendations done. But instead of it in monetary figures, we'll do it in man hours.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then of course we also want to make sure, will this compromise current operations in any way?
Yeah, I think that was one of the question I asked. That was what was kind of driving that, because we bounced this around back and forth amongst each other. Like we're not profit organizations, so how would we do it? And as far as it impacting mission capabilities, we have mandated training days every month. So we were talking about implementing it on that training day.
That's good. That's very good. That's very. Now, one other thing I want to comment on here, because when you start, oh, I'm very sorry. Let's finish this thought first. That all makes sense. Maybe I wasn't clear, last week when I was explaining it. But see, your currency is mission capability, mission execution, readiness, training, that type of thing. That's still a currency, although it doesn't happens to be a dollar. But that's a currency of the DoD. Does that make sense, y'all?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and and feel free when you're calculating, your ROI. I mean, you're improving the efficiency and the productivity of a unit that's got $970 million aircraft, at your disposal. So although it's not profit and loss, we are still talking about significant financial value here, and also being able to project what you do across the globe. That's good stuff, and that's important stuff. And for the people that you're pulling out of a hot zone, okay, or for the folks that you're helping, disaster relief, okay, ask them if it's worth more than money for what you all were doing.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. You comfortable going forward with abbreviate some of the stuff on 3.1 and then focus on the cost in man hours with reference to 3.2?
Most
Yes,
definitely,
sir.
sir.
Okay, super.
Yes, sir.
Feel free to send that to me. You don't have to wait till next class. And you can just send me one slide. You get 3.1, redone. Send just that to me and I'll give you feedback. Get this done, send this to me, and I'll get you feedback. Okay?
Roger that, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now I got one more, and Jay and I did dueling emails. Okay? It was wonderful. Okay. But now, and this is now your final problem statement. Is that a true statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Jay, I'm going to pick on you because I know you can handle it. Plus, I figure we got a relationship, all the stuff that's going back and forth between you and me lately. Okay?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right. Jay, what's the current mission capable rate for the 71st?
Current is 85.7%. That's for physical year 17.
Don't kid her, Jay. I mean, if it's okay now, despite the stellar, and I don't know why you're blowing smoke up who's ever skirt here, but anyhow, despite the stellar yearly average of 85.7, if the Air Combat Command's mission capable standard is 82, if you're currently at 85, why are we even doing the project? It ain't at 85.
Yep, that's when we were going back and forth. Like I was saying, this is a 12-month span, and out of those 12 months, we had 4 where we were way below. And at that,
I don't care about 1 month or another. What is the annual average?
85.7,
Say again?
85.7.
You told me it was 74. And if it's 85.7, that's over the standard.
It
So
is.
why are we even doing the project? You see where I'm going with this?
I do.
Because, hang on here, with no, yeah, 74% overall. That's what you sent me. Compared to the Air Combat Command's 86. Which, okay, that's why we do a project, to get that up where it needs to be. If you're now telling me it's 85.7, it's 85.7, that's above the minimum. Talk to me, Jay, and your whole team is listening intently. I'm not hearing much here, sir.
Yeah, I guess I was looking at it from a different window than what we should have been looking at it.
So what is the current aircraft mission capability rate of the 71st?
It's 85.7. That comes from our HOFA slides, the health of the fleet. So they're accurate numbers. I don't know if we need to go back to the drawing board.
And do what? Do a whole project in a week? Because what you first sent me, does Ernie know about this? And did he never ask you what your overall rate was in the beginning?
No, he did not.
All right, just a minute. Here's what you sent me in the very beginning. Trying to find your problem statement. There. Okay. And at that time, I asked, okay, it falls below the standard 86%. What do you have here? 85.7.
Yeah, we rounded it off.
Rounded what off?
I thought we did. It's 85.7.
Well, but this is the mandated 86%. This is what's mandated. Okay.
Yes, that number is incorrect.
Okay, Jay. I mean, at some point, Jay, you got 1 week to go, and we don't even know what the mission capable rates are now.
We do know we have the information. We just haven't been looking at it. 86. I don't know where that came from, but we have the information. All the information was sent out.
This is what you sent me. Okay, this is what you did at the end of MBP2. Now, what is the mandated mission capable rate from the Air Combat Command? The minimum.
82%.
82 is the minimum. And what's the 71st rate?
85.7.
Okay, and then there again, that's not even what you said here. Despite the stellar yearly average from the past year, the monthly rate has dropped below the 82% standard, as low as 63. So if the past year was 85.7, and I guess it's the current fiscal year, 4 months at 63, how is it now 85.7 if this was the highest it's ever been? If you just had 4 months of 63.
When we calculate, we had a couple of months of 63, some 70, but we had a couple of months of 95 and 96. So when you calculate all 12 of those months together, it was 85.7.
So what is it the team wants to do here? I mean, what's the goal of the project?
I think the last time we talked and we were looking at this and looking at it this way is trying to get to stabilize it, to keep that MC rate above the standard all year round, every month.
Okay. Jay, I gotta tell you, and this falls on your shoulders. Having numbers change every week is problematic. Because at some point you lose confidence on the source of the numbers. And you're the guy at the 71st. True statement?
Yes, sir. I have access to I was at the 71st, but yes, sir.
Okay. Well,
may I, sir?
yeah, go for it.
I think despite the numbers that Jahi was able to get for us, the problem was, I think the origin of the problem was, for the skewed numbers, was the original meeting we had with the champion, and we said we wanted to bring the unit to 100% mission capable, and he said it needs to be an achievable number. And I think I wasn't there, but I think the number he tossed out there was 86%. And so by then we hadn't, we didn't have all the data, but we just went to with what the champion wanted his unit to be at.
Okay.
Megan, if you want to come in and
I understand
explain.
all that, okay, but I mean, you all been doing this for like a year now, and we still don't have a problem statement that makes any sense. Because what's up here in front of me now, this does not state 85.7 currently. It says, despite the stellar average previously, the MC rate has dropped below 82, as low as 63. Now, you'll have good months, bad months, but we have to have a statement that gives a clear information and picture of where it's at, and also identifies what it is you want to do. Because what I'm hearing from Jay now is that you want to reduce the volatility in the mission capable rate.
I don't not looking at the problem statement. I don't know if we worded it wrong, but it says the monthly rate. That means we're looking at each month instead of that physical year. We said there were monthly rates where it had dropped below 82%.
Jay, we already talked about this. I sent you an email.
You did.
Okay, saying take the monthly rate and divide by 12 to get the annual average. Because unless you're going to put every monthly rate in here, and that's too much data. You understand what I'm saying? You have to come up with a clean statement that says the annual monthly average for the 71st mission capable rate is X. And you're telling me now it's 85.7%. And if that's what it is, okay. But all the data you've provided me this entire class does not support that number, including the problem statement, the latest problem statement you just sent me.
I'm lost. I think maybe I'm just misunderstanding what you're saying.
Okay. I'm saying now, in the problem statement, you need to state the yearly average for the 71st mission capable rate.
Yes, sir.
Do we know what that is now?
It's 85.7. That is straight from the HOFA slides. Database management tracks all of this. I've sent out the HOFA slides. We have those. That's accurate.
Okay. So you've got an annual rate of 85.7. The standard is 82. Where do you want to go with that? What is it you're trying to do? Get it to 90? Get it to 86? What's the goal of the project now? Can you help us out, Judith or Megan or anybody?
To me, I feel like the goal would be to keep all the mission capable above the 85.7. So if we could keep them, at 88%, then we would be exceeding the 85.7.
Okay, you want to exceed the minimum.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Judith, how's that sound with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Because we're already
I
at
mean-
85.7, so it's the sky's the limit for us, I guess, because we're trying to beat our own numbers. We already beat the ACC's number, so we're just trying to excel
Okay.
by going
I
above.
mean, at this point, no way am I going to ask you folks to redo an entire project in a week. I mean, that's not going to happen. But this is a problem statement, okay? We have to identify what the problem is. Now, you exceed the minimum, which is 82. The minimum is 82, right, Jay?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Jay, and am I pronouncing that correct? Is it Jay or J?
Jay.
Jay, okay. So, the standard of 82, that's not the problem here. But the goal, if you will, is to get it above 85.7. Is that what we're talking?
Yes, sir. I think that's the general idea. When they had the meeting with the champion, Colonel Dustin,
Yeah.
he said he wanted the unit to be at 86% at least.
Okay, well, try to get it up to
Correct.
get high 80s or 90. Okay,
Yes,
and then
sir.
along with that, let's maintain that month to month, not just the monthly average. How's that?
Sounds
Sounds
good,
good.
sir.
Can y'all reword this problem statement to reflect that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I mean that makes sense to do that, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Because you got to be able to, from your problem statement shouldn't cause confusion. And it does right now because I'm asking all these questions. But with the benefit of our discussion, okay, come up with a clean, concise problem statement that identifies the status quo and then identifies where you want to go, okay? Reducing volatility, reducing variation, okay, in month to month, maintaining a high, mission capable rate for the 71st, well above the standard of 82%. You don't have to put the goal in here. Wait till you run your numbers to see where it gets. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You got a good unit right now, and now you want to make it even better. I think Judith said that, and actually Megan said it too. Jay, does that work for you?
It does.
Now, you're not going to change your mind on me tomorrow, are you? Because Jimmy, you're killing me. You're driving me crazy, man. You tell me one thing, you tell me that. Oh well, that's what we thought. But now this is what it is. Jay, don't do that to yourself. Okay, just also okay. And this is just us talking now. All right. You see how important it is to understand as soon as possible. Okay, what's the status quo and where do we need to go? Because if not, boy, it can get frustrating, and it can cause circular motion, if you will, kind of chasing your own tail.
Yes, sir.
That drives you crazy. Drives me crazy. Drives everybody crazy. Okay, so reword this. Send it to me. Now, when you send me something, email all team members, please. Okay, send it to me. And I'll give you feedback on it if it's needed. I might say it's good just the way it is, but it is important that you have a nice, clean problem statement that identifies what you need to do. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Jude. Jay, you comfortable with this?
I'm good to go.
Final answer? Don't tease me now. Are you comfortable with what we said and how we're going to do it?
I'm good with it.
All right, sir. Now, one other thing on the when here you talk about the benefits of your recommendations and you say up to 16 hours, folks, I want you to take the bull by the horn and rip his head off. Go for it. Say 16 hours. Don't sell yourself short. Not up to 16 hours. We think this will improve up to 16 hours of wait time. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Don't sell yourself short. Okay? And I mean, you have to be able to back it up. You have to why you say it'll take, 16 hours off. But then having done that, you've done the work. Give yourself credit for it. Because this type of description of what we estimate, and they're educated estimates. You've done the work. There's no guarantee, but you've done the work. It opens yourself up to guys that'll just sharpshoot you. Well, what do you mean up to? What are you confident about? 5 hours, 2 hours, 12 hours? And you're not allowed to throw the slide deck at them or the notebook or whatever. Well, they're just sharpshooting you. Go ahead if you're comfortable that given your estimate with the information you have available, that you can take 16 hours off the wait time per incident on this type of thing, go with the full 16 hours, okay?
Happy, sir.
Okay, all right. Will you all please back brief Matthew on what we talked about?
Yes, sir. I've been typing as we speak.
Okay, super. Matthew. Hey, Matthew. Your team is going to back brief you on a couple items that we talked about. One in particular, the problem statement still needs some rewording, and we're going to work on that. And your team's going to talk to you, but your team's in a good place. We just have to do a couple specific mods, and you all should be good to go. And sorry that took so long. If you have any questions about anything, do you want me to stay after class and we can talk, or are you good, Matthew? Why isn't this updating? Doggone it. It's because there's so much there. Matthew, do you want me to stay after class and we can talk, or are you good? This thing almost works. I can stay if you want, Matthew, or if you're okay, that'll be it tonight. I'll check the chat box as we're talking. I'm going to sign off for now. Okay, back to the team. Are you folks okay? Do you know what you need to do? First thing's the problem statement. Tweak 3.1 and 3.2. And are you comfortable going forward with your ROI and a payback time slide?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay. If you have any questions about anything, please, please, please feel free to reach out to me. Okay?
Yes,
Will do, sir.
Hey, Jay.
Yes, sir.
If tomorrow morning you find something that just turns us upside down, you got to send out an email to everybody right away so we know we're in a different universe than what we were in tonight.
Roger that.
All right. Look, it just, you know what needs to be done in the problem statement, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Use your team. Get something clean and accurate and shows, where the team is going and why you're doing the project. Okay.
Sir.
All right. Okay. That's all I got. Last chance to hit me with anything, you all.
We need some whiskey.
You guys take care. You're doing fine. Okay. And I mean, big surprise. You know this by now. I I push everybody. Okay, I want your best work, and you've been giving it to me. You guys will be fine, but we do have to address these couple items. Okay.
Sir.
All right. You all take care. Reach out to me if you need to. Okay.
Will do. Have a good night.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good night, y'all.
Good night.
Good night.